Visayas at Mindanao, buong mundo kasali ka. Dito rinig boses ng masa, magkakaiba ngunit isa. Ate, kuya at mga pets, bata, matanda, kasali ka. Halika na't makinig sa DZUP 1602. Tayo na't makinig sa DZUP 1602.
Bukas campaign, tinggin, tinigatindig ng bayan. Lakas ng sama-samang paghakbang, ikaw at ako, kasali tayo.
Halika na't makinig sa DZUP 1602. Tayo na't makinig sa DZUP 1602. Ikaw ako tayo sa DZUP 1602. Kasali ka.
Ang oras ay 11:03 ng umaga. Ang DZUP 1602 ay kasapi ng KBP, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas. DZUP 1602, kasali ka.
Pakisuyo.
Aray!
Ay, patawad po. Maraming salamat, kuya. Para raw po.
Magandang umaga.
Magandang buhay po sa inyo.
Malayo ang nararating ng isang ngitit, isang pagbating tunay. Simula na ang iyong araw ng masaya at huwag kalimutang maging magalang. Mag-anyaya ng positibong pakikiusap para sa mas positibong pamumuhay para sa lahat. Isang paalala mula sa DZUP 1602, kasali ka.
That time, I was wearing a jacket and pants. Suot ko nun yung pulang bestida na bigay ng nanay ko.
I was wearing a sando and black leggings.
Nakasuot ako ng daily school uniform kasi may pasok nun.
Whatever we were wearing, we were not and we will never be asking for it. End victim blaming. Stop rape culture.
A public service reminder from DZUP 1602. Kasali ka.
Kung sakaling lumindol, manatiling kalmado at huwag tatakbo. Umiwas sa mga gamit na pwedeng mahulog o mabasag. Laging tandaan, duck, cover at hold. Kumapit hanggang matapos ang pagyanig upang maprotektahan ang sarili.
Ang buhay ay mahalaga, kaya maging alerto ka. Isang paalala mula sa DZUP 1602, kasali ka.
Abay Juan, itigil mo na nga yung paninigarilyo mo.
Minsan-minsan lang naman to.
Isipin mo naman kami ng anak mo.
Papa, game ko na sa Sabado. Makapunta ka naman, di ba?
Oo naman, anak.
Ayon sa Civil Service Commission, 240 Pilipino ang namamatay araw-araw dulot ng paninigarilyo. Walang kasiguraduhan kung kailan kanito maapektuhan. Isang paalala mula sa DZUP 1602, kasali ka.
Hi, miss. Did you fall from the sky? Because you look like an angel. Yeah. Your smile is to die for.
Iwasan gumamit ng cellphone habang nasa kalsada. Kung kailangan gumamit, tumigil at tumabi muna upang makaiwas sa disgrasya. Isang paalala mula sa DZUP 1602. Kasali ka.
Serbisyong para sa bayan.
Handog ng mga iskolar ng bayan. Inihahandog ng National Service Training Program ng Universidad ng Pilipinas Diliman ang
Serbisyong Tatak UP.
Taas kamay ng mga bagong bayani, sa harap ng pagsubok, huwag kang susuko. Bigyan ng boses ang sigaw ng masa, ang bagong pag-asa ay mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo, mula sa'yo. Panibagong pag-asa ay mula sa'yo.
Good morning, classmates! Nakikinig kayo sa Serbisyong Tatak UP, hatid sa inyo ng UP NSTP Diliman Office sa pakikipagtulungan sa DZUP 1602. Kasali ka, ako po si classmate Gian Librojo ng DZUP.
At ako naman po, si classmate Ibay. Ang Serbisyong Tatak UP ang programang tumatalakay sa National Service Training Program or NSTP ng UP Diliman. Isa itong Gandingan Award-winning radio program na kung saan ang mga episodes ay nagagamit bilang resource material sa mga classroom-based discussions ng NSTP sa Diliman.
How are you, classmate Ibay?
I'm okay. Kamusta kayo, Chia? Namimiss kita dito sa studio.
Oo nga, nakakamiss din, no? At kamusta yung iyong undas break, classmate Ibay?
Nako, break ba yon talaga? Nagbe-break ba tayo? Kamusta ka, classmate Gian? Nakapahinga naman kayo?
Nakapagpahinga naman at nakapagpunta sa aming mga mahal sa buhay na yumao. And I'm hoping na sa lahat ng ating mga kasali at mga classmate ay ganoon din naging makabuluhan at ligtas ang inyong pagbisita sa inyong mga probinsya o di kaya ay pumunta sa mga beach. May nakita ako mga pumunta sa beach ngayong panahon.
Talaga, hindi ako nagbukas ng social media dahil nga busy then over the break. Pero yan, time for reflection then and remembering our loved ones who have moved on. Ayan.
Alright, so mga classmates, nung nakaraang episode ating nakasama si classmate Matthew Benedict Calibo ng Veterinary Teaching Hospital Diliman Station at ating napag-usapan ang paksang alagang komunidad, balanseng pagsusulong ng kalusugan at kabutihan ng mga hayop na kung saan ating tinalakay kung papaano nga ba angkop o kung ano nga ba yung mga angkop na pamamaraan sa pag-alaga ng mga stray animal at mga ethical consideration na kaangkop nito. Isang halimbawa nga ay yung pagkakapon ng mga ito para makontrol.
Dagdagan ko lang ang sa inyong sinabi, classmate Gian, nalaman din natin na ang goal ng mga veterinarians natin by 2030 ay rabies-free na ang Pilipinas. In relation to this, nasabi rin ni classmate Matthew na kailangan rin natin maging proactive sa pagpapacheck ng mga stray dogs and cats. In this way, we can contribute to reducing the cases of health concerns that may be caused by stray animals. And also, through neutering, yung TNVR, Trap, Neuter, Vaccinate, Return programs and initiatives, we can control the unwanted increase of their population.
For our episode today, dadako tayo sa panibagong usapin na tumatalakay sa mga open space sa loob ng ating campus. Napakarami nating open space dito sa UP Diliman, so we are very fortunate. Ang mga open spaces ay pinupuntahan natin sa ating free time para makapagpahinga or makipag-socialize sa ating mga kaibigan na siyang nakakatulong sa ating mental health. Kaya naman mahalagang pag-usapan natin kung paano mapapanatili ang mga lugar na ito na maayos para sa kapakanan ng lahat.
Nakakagalak at nakakatuwa na tayo pinaunlakan ng dalawang guests na magbigay ng kaalaman sa ating topic ngayon. Nako, Gian, puro mga kasama ko ito sa kolehiyo. Ang una nating guest ay mula sa aking kolehiyo sa College of Architecture. Siya ay isang masugid na taga-suporta ng sustainable urban development and community-centered architectural practices. She has been involved in projects that advocate environmentally conscious design and urban planning that support green spaces. Welcome sa Serbisyong Tatak UP, classmate Maureen.
Good morning. Hi, thanks for having me. The introduction is very, large scale. But definitely it's yung aking directions come close to heart about the campus. And I'm eager to talk about the campus and its open spaces. Thanks for having me.
Thank you also, Gian.
Oh yeah, all right. Kasama rin natin si Associate Professor Dr. Napi Navarra Siya ang head of the Environmental Landscape Studio Laboratory sa College of Architecture Dean at ang current coordinator ng Integrated Graduate Program ng nasabing kolehiyo. Siya rin ay consultant with focus on landscape planning and design na naglalayong magbigay ng positibong epekto sa environment and community. Welcome to Serbisyong Tatak UP classmate Napi.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for inviting me also, mga classmates. Thank you.
Alright, so simulan na natin ang ating talakayan. Mukhang napakasaya dyan sa studio, kaya ako ay I'm quite jealous that I'm not there. FOMO, kumbaga. Anyways, simulan natin ang ating usapan with classmate Napi. Maliban sa mga nabanggit natin kanina sa ating introduction, paano nga ba natin mailalarawan ang kahalagahan ng mga bukas na espasyo o open space sa campus, particular dito sa ating campus?
When we talk about open spaces, kasi we have to see it, especially in the context of within the campus, kailangan natin makita yung open spaces as part of an academic space. Ibig sabihin, hindi lang siya unused spaces or spaces in between academic learning spaces. We have to see that these spaces, these open spaces, are actually learning spaces wherein we could actually develop certain siguro mga methodologies or even ways para ma-integrate siya sa learning ng isang tao na hindi lang academic, purely academic yung learning, kundi it could also develop certain sense of, say, civic-mindedness or even that sense of responsibility to the environment or even that consciousness or awareness of being part of something greater than their personal interests or goals. So, yung mga open spaces na ito ay example ito of, like, say, how do we say participate on how we can be citizens or how we can be involved in certain causes. So, nagiging part siya in terms of how we can expand our perspective about things na hindi lang tayo yung sentro ng existence or, on how we could how we can become better person, but rather as citizens of the country or citizens of a global environment. Siguro yun yung mas gusto kong i-emphasize na kahalagahan instead of just looking at it from, a limited, very individualized perspective on the benefits of open spaces.
I think I'd like to add to that in terms of how we can demonstrate how we're citizens as UP faculty and students and staff. Na, the saying na it all begins at home. If you can practice it at home, that means you can do it for the larger context, for the larger community. So, kailangan may consistency din kasi, and that's what excellence is all about. It's consistency of behavior, consistency of a standard when it comes to the way that we relate to our spaces. So I agree na when we look at our campus, it's about it being a large academic space. And as academic space, it's a combination of the built and the open spaces. Hindi siya separate. They are together. Kasi ganun naman din tayo bilang mga tao eh. We're complex beings.
Yes.
We're not just any one thing. So our spaces are the same. So if we look at it in that manner, the complexity is also something that we can find a lot of inspiration from, right?
It's true.
Yeah, so ako talagang very attached at mahal na mahal ko ang campus natin. But I'd like to know what is so special about our campus? Anong special sa kanya? Bakit ganun natin ka mahal or talagang pinangangalagaan ang mga espasyo sa ating campus?
But if you've been around different campuses here in the Philippines or in different parts of the world, makikita mo yung difference ng UP campus in terms of how it could instill in you the idea of being in an institutional space. Ang difference nito ay it gives you hindi naman yung grandness, but it's more of that feeling, especially when you enter the campus along University Avenue pa lang, you would feel na you are entering an institution. I think that's the most important thing na, especially tayo, wherein ngayon maraming mga institutions na under threat. Okay, na yung idea natin of institutions are always being, not always, but are being threatened, especially with this, current mga forces or influences. Okay, but here in UP campus, you would feel na you are in an institution and there are certain expectations for a person in terms of behavior, in terms of of how they could take part in that, taking care of those spaces.
For me, parang a quick way to check kung ano yung nagiging relationship ng mga tao relative to the UP Diliman campus is most prominent with two groups of people. The first group would be those who want to study in UP. Na makita mo, especially right before the UPCAT takes place, na madaming bumibisita sa campus to check where their testing center is. And they're very evidently like scoping the area. At makikita mo talaga na even in their faces, even in their demeanor, na parang they want to be part of this environment. Na parang when I pass the UPCAT, I will be part of this, and then there's that parang nuance of actions. Na even in the way that they walk very carefully and look around, that's one indicator already. Even visitors who may not be taking the UPCAT yet, makita mo talaga na nagpa-photo op, pupunta ka agad sa oblation, those kinds of key locations within the campus. They see it already as this opportunity to situate themselves. The other group that I find very interesting, in which they demonstrate their connectedness to the campus environment, are our alumni. Iba yung pagpasok nila sa campus, it's like memory lane ka agad ang nafe-feel nila. Even if there's so many changes that happen in the campus, what happens in their minds is going back to what they used to be as students, how they used to use these spaces. So napaka-layered din ng environment natin. It's not just what they see, it's what they remember. And it's demonstrated that way. So iba yung connection. And the care towards it, the sense of ownership, so to speak, it's very strange kasi parang napaka-personal ng ownership, and yet at the same time, UP is a public institution, and the access into the campus is also publicly allowed. Pero yun nga yung challenge. I agree that there are so many factors, so many external challenges na pumapasok din that na kailangan i-balance, na may public nature in campus, but at the same time we have to preserve its academic nature in both the buildings and its open spaces. At yun talaga yung nangyayari on an everyday basis for all of us. And I think that's a way for the third group, which is the faculty, students, and staff who are in campus doing their studies, working, doing their research. Sometimes when they're just walking along the sidewalk, and then they see something that is not in keeping, hindi tayo natatakot na magsabi, hey, sorry, hindi dyan yung direction. You're going against traffic. Or dito po yung lugar kung saan pwede magtapon ng basura. Dapat nagsasegregate tayo. Hindi to isang lugar lang nagtatapon ng basura. And those sort of things which are very UP, which I don't know why it doesn't happen outside the campus. Parang naiba yung behavior kapag outside. And I feel like sana ma-expand siya beyond even the campus yung ganong klaseng good behaviors.
Yes, so merong ganong sense of ownership and sense of pride. Balikan ko yung tanong earlier ni classmate Gian sa akin kung anong ginawa ko nung break. Inano ko talagang yung brain ko, di ba? Pa-jump, di ba? Hindi kasi you mentioned UP alumni. So nung break, dinala ko yung aking tito at tita na mga gumraduate dito nung 70s. Sila nandito. So and it brought back so many memories of the 70s, which is yun nga, first quarter storm, yung mga upuan daw galing sa AS na ginawang barikada, yung mga ganong mga memories na when they looked back, it was with pride, di ba? And yun nga, that sense of ownership of the place. But I'd also like to know, aside from that, di ba, what people feel, di ba, when they enter the campus, di ba? And that sense of arrival, di ba? Kumbaga, of different stakeholders, di ba? Within the greater urban ecosystem naman, ano yung parang nagiging role ba or significance, 'di ba, ng ating campus sa loob ng Quezon City?
Before I go into the ecological aspect, I'd like to point out also yung isang importance of the open spaces. Traditionally, these open spaces are actually spaces for discourse. So, in a way, in a democratic society, yung mga open spaces na ito, dito nagpupulong-pulong yung mga tao to discuss their visions, their ideals of a society. And ito yung nakikita pa rin natin dito sa UP. That's why siguro yung sabi mo nga, yung earlier question mo about what makes UP open spaces important or different or significant, it's that this is where you could have different people with different backgrounds, different ideologies could come together, talk about the topic or the issue, and then, at the end, they could, that they can agree to disagree, or they could, still, pursue whatever their interests are or their ideologies. But in terms of the greater ecological, connection of the campus, we have, especially from our college, we have some studies regarding that in terms of how these are actually interconnected with the different open spaces or green spaces within Quezon City. We have developed, for example, a network of these different green spaces to illustrate how, for example, the dispersion of these different fauna species would actually include UP campus as one of the important nodes of the dispersion of the fauna of the birds. So it's quite, especially here in Quezon City, and here in Luzon, wala naman tayo masyadong major mammal na organism. In terms of for biodiversity, but birds, actually, we have significant population and diversity. So, UP campus is one of the important. We see it as part of a larger, complex network of these open spaces, and these are enshrined or are included in our principles that we developed for our biodiversity manual.
Those principles are essential in terms of biodiversity, but in the context of our academic use of space of the campus. If I can share what those three principles are. The first principle is the university is a culturally significant ecological patch. So ibig sabihin nun, it's in itself biodiverse. And as a patch, it's part of a larger network. Which brings us to principle number 2. The university harmonizes its built and natural environments to maintain ecological integrity. Essential kasi dito yung the connectedness that we have, both humans and the wildlife. And then the third principle 3, the university nurtures a biodiverse and interdependent community. So meron din tayong actions that try to preserve this environment that we already have on campus. And I guess this is the opportunity to already share na dito nga nagkakaroon ng everyday challenges na which in a way is also open to discussion. Kaya nga the open spaces are supposed to be venues for discourse. Pag-usapan muna, ano ba talaga yung mga paraan kung paano natin i-implement ang mga principles na to. But having these principles at least puts us all on the same page. That this is the direction, this is the motivation that we all share. But how it's done, yun yung challenge natin ngayon. And we have these general stipulations in regard to that listed in our Biodiversity Management Handbook developed by the TWG for Biodiversity Management, of which Nappy and I, classmate Nappy, and I, nakaiba. But oo nga, we're classmates here in this show. We're part of. We were very happy to be selected to be part of this TWG, and we developed this under the aid of the Office of the Chancellor and the Office of the Vice Chancellor for Community Affairs. And sana mabasa ito ng ating mga kasama, lahat ng ating mga kasama dito sa campus, the entire community, because if you're wondering about what's the general use of our space, ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng minimum impact, ano ibig sabihin ng TNVR, ano ibig sabihin ng the root system for our trees, the what's the term for that, the root zone. It's all explained in our biodiversity handbook, and because it's about, first and foremost, academic activity, the discourse, the research, even just sitting down and thinking. Kasama yan sa pagiging academic, di ba? And you need space for that. But at the same time, it's consciousness that you're not the only one who's doing that, and that you're sharing space with others. And when we say others, other human beings and other beings in general. So, these principles are essential. Sana yun ang maalala nating lahat. At yun ang madaling sabihin sa ating mga bisita na pupunta dito sa campus para masagot yung tanong, why is the UP campus so special? It's actually these 3 principles that we have.
Okay, ayan. So, salamat for that, classmate Maureen. Classmate Gian, kamusta ka dyan? Anong comment mo?
Actually, napakadaming napag-usapan sa first half pa lang no, ng ating usapan. No? At totoo yan. I agree as someone who's also part of UP Diliman, no? Na for someone who stayed, no? Here on campus, iba din yung effect ng campus staying here and seeing all the developments and also seeing the stagnation in some areas, no? And also going to the fact na when I was a student, also going to the fact of UP being an oasis for biodiversity, isa sa mga kinahiligan ko ay yung tumitingin-tingin lang ako sa mga puno at sa mga halaman at sa mga bulaklak at sa iba-ibang mga hayop din na nakikita. Nabanggit nga ni classmate Napi na maraming mga ibon dito sa ating campus, and some of them I think are migrants, no? Yung mga tumutungo dito sa Pilipinas during the winter season. So UP Diliman is really a wonderful campus, no? It's big. It's not like the usual campus here in the Philippines, but especially in Metro Manila. So we have a lot to thank for our open space that we have here on campus, and the fact that, going back to what a classmate, one of our classmates who said na this is being an open space means that it is a shared space, and it's not just something that one individual should enjoy, but should be enjoyed by all, by the public. So really, napakaganda, no? At napakaganda rin ang itinutungo ng ating usapan. Pero kailangan natin munang mag-break, mga kasali at mga classmates. Sa ating pagbabalik, tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang ating diskusyon tungkol sa pangangalaga sa mga bukas na espasyo ng campus, mga pamamaraang makatao at makabayan. Don't forget to like us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Serbisyong Tatak UP, and use our hashtag Serbisyong Tatak UP.
Maari rin kayong magbigay ng inyong mga opinyon sa comment section ng ating FB Live. Ang DZUP 1602 ay kasapi ng KBP, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas. Magbabalik po ang Serbisyong Tatak UP dito sa DZUP 1602, kasali ka.
Halika na pakinig sa DZUP 1602. Tayo na pakinig sa DZUP 1602. Ikaw ako, tayo sa DZUP 1602. Kasali ka.
Girl, salamat sa pag-invite ha. Sayo ng party.
OMG! Tingnan mo yung bagong dating. Familiar siya.
Oh, may ginawa siya sa akin nung nasa UP ako last week. Labas tayo, please.
Labanan ng sexual harassment. I-report sa UP Office of Anti-Sexual Harassment o tumawag sa 981-8500 Local 2465 o 2466. Isang paalala mula sa DZUP 1602. Kasali ka.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have arrived at the library. If you haven't already done so, please stow your baggage in the designated bag racks. Please take your seat and quietly arrange your belongings. If you are seated next to another person, please ensure that your items are organized. We remind you to keep the shelves in order and to minimize noise and conversation. Thank you.
Do your part and help make the library a conducive place to study. A message from DZUP 1602. Kasali ka.
Make Eco Bricks now. Step 1. Clean and dry out an empty 500 ml PET bottle. Step 2. Pack the bottle with dry, non-biodegradable wrappers until it is completely filled and compact. Step 3. For UP Diliman students, you may deposit your Eco Bricks at the UP Haring Ibon Tambayan. Check out the plastic solution on Facebook for more drop-off points near you. These Eco Bricks can build flood rafts, homes, and schools.
Maging bahagi ng plastic solution. Isang paalala mula sa DZUP 1602. Kasali ka.
Serbisyong Tatak UP.
And we're back here on Serbisyong Tatak UP sa DZUP. Ako po muli si classmate Gian Librojo.
At ako naman si classmate Ibay. Kasama pa rin natin si classmate Maureen at classmate Napi na parehong mula sa Kolehiyo ng Arkitektura, tulad ko. So lahat kami ay galing sa College of Architecture. Ayan.
Full force ng College of Architecture dyan sa ating studio. So, at kanina nga, napag-usapan natin ng medyo masinsinan din kung ano nga ba ang halaga ng UP Diliman bilang isang open space. At isa sa mga concepts no, na maaari ninyong i-take away ay yung UP being an open space for civic-mindedness as well as an oasis for biodiversity, as well as the memories it inculcates among alumni, and of course the eagerness and the excitement, enthusiasm that it brings to those who would want to be part of the UP Diliman community as a student, no, through the UPCAT applications and many more. At napag-usapan nga rin natin kung gaano din kahalaga na pangalagaan din natin ang ating campus upang ma-enjoy siya ng hindi lamang ng isang tao o ng isang grupo, kundi ng lahat bilang isang public space ito. But, you know, as what was mentioned by classmate Napi and classmate Maureen and even classmate Ibay kanina, we would have to, or there's also this challenge to strike a balance between maintaining our character as a public institution, as an open space, as well as UP Diliman being an academic space first and foremost. All right. Going back to our discussion, mga kasali, tungkol dito sa ating episode ngayon ay pagpatuloy nga natin ang ating discussions tungkol sa UP bilang isang open space. Classmate Ibay, meron ka bang katanungan?
Nako, madami. Pero sige, simulan na lang natin sa siguro to continue from the first segment kanina at mula sa pananaw ng isang arkitekto at isang landscape architect na parehong nasa academe. How do you balance itong na-mention nga din ni classmate Gian? Halimbawa, technological advancement, our needs as an academic institution, the growing needs of the campus community with ecological, environmental issues.
Okay, of course, over time, you know, our needs change. Parang commercial sa multivitamins. Pero I'd like to point out lang na as a community, we are a continuously growing community. We are evolving in terms of our needs. And same goes with our environment, with our landscape here in the campus. And I think when we talk about management, we have to look at it from all levels, not just, you know, at the ground level wherein we see people being in the campus, but actually we have to look at it in terms of, you know, the decision making involved on how we are managing our spaces. Kasi yun nga, yung parating nakikita nila na these open spaces are spaces that have potential for something, pero hindi nila nakikita yung intrinsic value ng these open spaces. So ang gusto sana natin, especially with this biodiversity management handbook, na i-raise or emphasize is that these spaces are intrinsically have value, and that the management would involve everyone. Kaya nga nagkaroon tayo ng management handbook is so that everyone, supposedly yung faculty, yung students, staff, even yung mga decision makers natin dito sa campus will be aware of what these, the campus and the different spaces represent. And ang sa atin dito, especially with, say, yung kanina na medyo na-bring up din, yung mental health, okay, or even the wellness, the idea of wellness, these spaces have to be managed in a way that reflects the sentiments, or even not just reflecting in a way reflecting lang kumbaga, but more of also yung current needs, but also the ideals. The idea of sustainability, it's really more for the how we can still provide for the future generations needs then. Hindi lang current needs natin. It should reflect, but not only our needs, but the needs of the future generation. So that's what I would like to point out. And also siguro yung pag-decide on how we are developing our spaces, dapat may participation ang karamihan. Hindi lang siya, something that can be decided by a person or a group of people who would say na ganito dapat gawin ang ating mga spaces. We need to have the involvement of everyone. Kaya nga, sa akin, we need to be more articulate or more, we have to be more outspoken in terms of how we should have our open spaces. Kasi, for example, yung change sa lifestyle or even the kind of work ng mga tao. Marami ng tao ngayon ang nag-work, like in BPOs, working, graveyard shift. So sila, most likely, they'd be working at nighttime. So, ang only chance that they could, for example, use the spaces, outdoor spaces, or these open spaces, is during nighttime. But if we prohibit them from using these spaces, so how can they enjoy their right and also the benefits of using open spaces if ganon? So, hindi lang pwedeng certain segment lang ng population ang makaka-enjoy at magkakapag-benefit ng open spaces. We need to look at how, the society has been changing over time, especially now.
But with change din kasi, there are these core things that still have to remain. Yun nga, what you were mentioning about intrinsic value. Na, this is what I find kind of ironic, na kapag meron mga bumibisita na alumni, or even us, even if we're already embedded in the campus as faculty, embedded talaga na term, na we say, hey, ang ganda ng campus. And then we see the open space, ang ganda ng trees, ang ganda ng open space. And then all of a sudden, in the same breath, sasabihin, hey, pwede maglagay dito ng something. It seems ironic to me that the thing that is most enjoyed and gives this intrinsic value so freely is also in the same breath said as it can be developed. I think the term development is a very charged, difficult term, which classmate Nappy is already mentioning na ang kailangan ay, and what the open spaces already provide, is our venue for discourse, our venue for discussion, our venue for democratic management. Na yun nga, it can't be embedded or in just one person's decision making. For example, our campus land use plan. This is an agreement by all constituencies of the university. It's not just one person who makes this. And embedded in our campus land use plan, the one that was approved by the BOR in 2012, enumerates 9 campus land uses, of which I'd like to emphasize 4 that are related to open spaces. If I may read it, the first is our campus core. Campus core measures 21.66 hectares, and it is described as the historic and unifying center of the UP Diliman campus, wherein its pioneer buildings, heritage trees, and other campus elements shall be maintained and shall inspire all future developments on campus. Ang implication nito, tapos na, maganda na, designed na, as is na dapat ang academic core. Wala na kailangan gawin. Maintain lang siya. Kasi yun na siya eh. And that was already present decades before. And where a lot of our memories are embedded. Kaya pag bumalik ang mga alumni, ang mas naalala nila ay yung kung ano sila bilang estudyante at the time. I feel like, I'm assuming, they don't actually see the new things that are happening in the middle na parang may sumulpot na paved, whatever. It's not that. It's what they remember from before because it's already by design. Tapos na eh. We just have to maintain it. And that's the campus core. It's already what can inspire the rest of the developments because the campus is 493 hectares. The rest of it naman, NAPI, yeah.
No, saan yung, para clear siguro sa mga listeners natin, saan yung campus core? Ano yung mag-constitute sa campus core natin?
Oh, well, you're right. I mean, because we assume that everyone knows, right? I think when we enter the campus, the ceremonial entry is the University Avenue. It begins there. And then as we enter towards Quezon Hall, it's not even towards Quezon Hall. Ang una pa nating nakikita ay yung green open spaces that flank both sides of the University Avenue. And the first structures that we encounter are not buildings but sculptures. The Tribute to Higher Education by Abueva, those sculptures towards the side that lead towards the checkpoint, those beautiful sheds that point in a particular direction, very sculptural din siya, and functional as waiting sheds, that draw our eyes towards Quezon Hall. Ganong klaseng approach pa lang, that's just the beginning of the campus core. And then when we go around the academic oval, which are all our older buildings, most of our older buildings in UP Diliman, siguro alam naman ng lahat kung ano ibig sabihin ng AS, right? Or shall we give the official name?
Everyone.
Not everyone!
Oh my gosh! AS yun pa rin naman, di ba?
Yes,
okay.
Alam namin. Yes, pero tawag namin dyan.
Yes. Kaya,
so, totoong UP Diliman kapag AS pa rin yung tawag, di ba?
Matakot yung mga nag-iiba yung mga pangalan kasi ng mga lugar.
Pero parang meron pa rin siyang hindi nawawalang pangalan. So, you have AS, which is Palma Hall, and then if you go around from wait, I skipped buildings. Turning to the right from Quezon Hall, we have Vargas Museum, faculty.
What remains of it?
What remains of it. And then we have AS, Benton Hall, College of Education, Vinson's,
DSB, Economics.
BA.
Oh yeah, BA pero.
CBA is the building. VSB is the institution.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Walang magagalit. I think that's the correct. That was UC approved,
so,
right?
Benitez Hall, di ba si Eduk, and then si Vinson's, and then si BA,
CBA, the building,
Econ,
yeah.
And then Malcolm Hall, di ba yung susunod, di ba?
Yes,
Yung paikot tayo sa college.
And then NEC, and then engineering or Melchor Hall,
tennis court.
the tennis courts, yeah, and the University Theater, and
Film
Film
Center.
Tapos si Carillon.
Theater.
Mauna ba si theater?
Ano yan? Carillon. Carillon. In between.
Oh, siya.
In between.
Parang trivia, right?
Dapat memorize. Actually, ginagawa yung exercise sa mga urban design classes.
Yeah, mental mapping.
Yes, mental mapping. Alam mo ba ang campus?
Yeah. And then College of Music, Abelardo Hall, and where we are now is the DZUP. So we are in the Plaridel Hall, yeah. Well, the building behind Plaridel Hall. So, but it's not, those are just the buildings that I'm enumerating. That's not only the academic core. The academic core is also all the green spaces in between and outside and immediate to it. So the Sunken Garden, the University Amphitheater right behind Quezon Hall,
library,
the lagoon, and also all the paths in between the buildings. That's also part of the academic core, the campus core. At yun pa lang, first land use pa lang yun. I still have 3 to mention.
Sige, ano pa? Marami kaming natututunan. Di ba classmate Gia?
Yes, napakadami. And masabi ko lang, no, I think I agree with the classmate Maureen doon sa sinabi niya na sometimes we don't have to develop things and just let it be. No? I think isa din sa magandang function ng open spaces is it actually acts as a place where people can converge during times of disaster, during evacuation when we need to evacuate. So if we do some certain developments, it may impede, the amount of space that we could actually converge when there is an earthquake or when there are fires, for example. So I think there are times that we should just let things be.
Yeah, so key term dyan is to converge, where people come together. Because open spaces are connectors, they're not dividers. Akala natin na yung mga building, dahil hiwalay yung mga building, hiwalay na sila. Ang nako-connect actually are open spaces. Kaya all connected siya. That's why it's easy to identify where the campus core is. The other land uses that are relative to open spaces. We have other parks and major open spaces constituting 44.82 hectares. It is described as the large tracts of green open spaces of the campus, allowing for a variety of undisturbed flora and fauna, and the natural collection of surface runoff during heavy rains. I think, classmate Nappy, you have like photos, or you even saw it in firsthand what happened to a particular storm, not the recent one, I think, but definitely a particular storm in which nakita yung pagpool ng tubig towards the open spaces and leaving the streets unhindered. Because that's the way that's already designed. Yung mga open space na akala natin, it's undeveloped. Hindi. It's already by design na siya yung maging location kung saan magko-collect ang surface runoff. Yun ang term natin para sa tubig kapag umulan. And it is also a space where our wildlife, both flora and fauna, already converge themselves. They also have convergence places.
Yeah, that's true. That was Ondoy, I think, if I remember correctly. I think 2009, I think.
2009.
Yeah, you'd see yung sa area that's the current location of what was developed into a impounding lagoon.
Yes.
That area. And then the other side.
Yeah. It didn't need to be an impounding lagoon. I hope I don't know. Yes. I think this is it's not an unpopular opinion because the University Council already gave a statement regarding its development before it became the impounding lagoon, which already cited our 2012 campus land use plan na saying it's already as it should be. Nagko-collect na dun naturally ang tubig kapag malakas ang ulan. Ang kailangan lang naman ay i-trim lang naman yung grass. Kaya di ba yung mga tractors ng CMO, whenever they start mowing the lawn, so to speak, ano yung nakikita right behind them?
The egrets.
The egrets! Yeah. And bakit malapit ang mga egrets dun sa likod ng tractor? Are they interested in the tractor? They're not, di ba? They're interested with something else.
Yeah, it's true. So, ang point lang dun is that during Ondoy, even without, quote-unquote, developing it into an impounding lagoon, it was already operating and serving as a collecting basin for runoffs.
Yeah.
And also to point out that space also was used by the bio students as their laboratory because that's where they were doing biodiversity survey.
Yeah, parang yung nai-imagine ko tuloy, the way nga na in-explain, no, what was a natural lagoon was developed into a man-made lagoon. Parang ganun din yung purpose niya. Siguro ang nakakabahala din dito, I guess because we're on the topic, is really how the value of space seems to be very relative tuloy, kahit na meron tayong mga guidelines din naman, 'di ba, na tungkol dito, na yun din yung kasi kanina pa lang when you said something about our spaces na yung even maintaining them is something that can be enjoyed by future generations. So nababalik tayo dun sa idea of sustainability then, 'di ba? So na yung even yun nga, yung value of space as not, hindi porke hindi siya developed ay wala siyang value, parang ganon. So not just developed, not just manicured, ay what was enjoyed in the past, 'di ba, na ganyan as is also something that we enjoy in the present and most likely the future. So yan ang sustainability.
Which brings us to our third campus land use, which is protected forest area. 18.25 hectares naman siya, described as the Arboretum. Being the last natural forest of the University of the Philippines Diliman as well as Quezon City, it must remain untouched and protected in accordance with the law. Meron talaga tayong protection law for our forested areas. In relation to use by the faculty, students, and staff of UP Diliman, it shall be for academic purposes with minimum or no negative intervention. So ito yung sinasabi na for our future generations. Kapag nagiging overdeveloped, kapag marami kang ginagawa, in effect, nawawala siya.
Incidentally, I was in Arboretum about 3 weeks ago. And the kind of forest that you're expecting of it being a protected forest, medyo alarmingly wala na siya. So I mean, of course, ang daming namang mga ang daming layers ng issue, especially in Arboretum. And also we've been hearing or we know of plans that they are trying to develop certain areas of the Arboretum. But the Arboretum itself, you would still see trees, the towering trees, but these are, inhabited already. So, yun lang yung ano ko doon is, how can we ensure that the future generation will also get to enjoy or at least see this, the Arboretum as a forest.
And that's the key. It goes back again to democratic discourse and how we manage our spaces as a community, as a university community. Because we just hear of these things when we should know of these things. There's a difference. How can you know? It means that you want to participate in a very meaningful manner para ma-ensure natin that we're following the principles that we have in regard to biodiversity management as well as our academic purpose. We're not saying na walang good motivations ang ating mga decision makers. I mean, I think everyone wants to come from a good place with what they're doing for the campus, but we have to manage also ano yung magiging implications niya for the future, because sometimes you do something and you feel that it's good. Maybe it's good for now, but maybe not for a few generations after. And those are the things that we have to be conscious of. If I can just, as one last, the fourth campus land use designation is in relation naman to academic/academic support units. Kasi baka yung implication ay dahil may building, yun lang yung ng isang college, yun lang ang iniisip yung building. Hindi. Kasama din yung site niya, yung open spaces immediately around it. Because as described, this land use says that the creation of an environment conducive to academic pursuit requires the combination of built and green environments. The academic/academic support units shall therefore be comprised of both buildings and green spaces. So can you imagine, hindi lang yung mga open spaces, protected forest at campus core, yung ating open space, but altogether, even the small patches in between, na pwede natin bantayan as colleges, as units, as individuals, all of that together make up our campus.
Ayan, napakainit ng usapan at tinitignan ko yung ating oras ngayon. So hindi na tayo naka-break na nandito na tayo sa ating segment 3. Dire-diretso lang. Actually parang hindi na nga tayo nag-segment. Siguro mabalik lang natin sa NSTP. Ano ang mga hakbang na maaring gawin ng mga NSTP students, NSRC reservists, kabataan at volunteers upang makatulong sa pangangalaga ng mga bukas na espasyo ng ating campus?
Siguro sa akin, basically they should be involved, in terms of, yung I think yung nababanggit or that has been implied during the discussion in terms of governance. So ang ibig sabihin lang, hindi naman ibig sabihin pag governance ay tayo magde-decide, but ang point ay we need to be involved as users in terms of how we could articulate our needs, how we can be part in making solutions to the different issues. For example, even a simple, say, solid waste management, we can take part in that. And also siguro we need to be more vocal in terms of hindi naman masama na magkaroon tayo ng criticism on how we are using our spaces or the quality of our spaces. We know that, since pandemic or even before the pandemic happened, nakita natin yung increase ng users especially around Akad Oval. And then I think as part of this community, it is our role, it is our responsibility to also spread the word in terms of how we should be managing our spaces. So siguro first thing is be aware, okay? Especially yung sa biodiversity handbook. Siguro it won't hurt na to read the handbook siguro. I think for faculty, students, and everyone in the community to read the handbook so that they would feel being in the same page, but also that they are part of the community. And also, siguro they can take steps, in terms of how being a good citizen. Yun siguro yung ang pinanggagalingan dapat natin na being a good citizen, we have to look after or we have to look for our spaces. This is something na yung usual na argument kasi about open spaces or common or this these public spaces. Is it owned by everyone or is it owned by no one? Yung ganong
tragedy of the commons, I think, is the term for that.
That's right.
Yeah.
So ang issue, ang nakakatakot lang is the potentially the apathy in terms of how we as users could be we won't be participating. So siguro yun lang sa be involved on how we can be good managers of our open spaces.
So beyond just the speaking up, it's also in the doing. Practice what you preach, and it's in the little things that matter then, because when these accumulate as individuals towards as a larger community, it will have its larger impact. So as simple as look after yourself, what you're doing, pick up the trash after you create litter, pick it up, throw it in the proper location. Those little things, they matter. And it's so demonstrate what you talk about. Yun din ang importante.
Maraming salamat. Ang dami pang pwedeng pag-usapan. Kaya lang kulang na tayo sa oras. Balik tayo kay classmate Gian.
Yes, napakakulang na ating oras dahil nga napakaganda na rin ng ating napag-uusapan. Pero just to take off from what was being mentioned by classmates Napi and Maureen, paparating na ang ating Lantern Parade and this December, next month. So when you do come over, everyone is welcome, of course. Please remember to keep the campus clean, to maintain the cleanliness, and so that we could maintain the use of UP Diliman as an open and public space for everyone. Alright, so dyan na po nagtatapos ang ating programa. Maraming salamat sa ating mga classmates Maureen and classmate Napi mula sa College of Architecture, in line sa ating topic ngayon na may kinalaman sa open spaces dito sa ating campus.
Huwag kalimutang i-like ang aming Facebook page, facebook.com/Serbisyong Tatak UP.
Mga classmates, tutok po kayo sa susunod na episode ng Serbisyong Tatak UP. Muli ako po si classmate Gian Libroho.
At ako naman si classmate Ibay ng NSTP Diliman Office. Samahan nyo kami ulit sa November 11, 2024, 11 ng umaga. Ang DZUP 1602, classmate Gian, ay kasapi ng KBP, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas. Magsama-sama po ulit tayo sa susunod para sa isang panibagong episode ng Serbisyong Tatak UP, STUP sa DZUP 1602.
Kasali ka!
Handog ng mga eskolar ng bayan, inihahandog ng National Service Training Program ng Universidad ng Pilipinas Diliman ang
Serbisyong Tatak UP.
Taas kamay, mga bagong bayani, sa harap ng pagsubok, huwag kang sasuko. Bigyan ng boses ang sigaw ng masa, ang bagong pag-asa.